Is Clemont getting a Quilladin, Qwilfish? This is it? No, 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 not that one. This one. Is that what Clemont is getting? Pokemon! 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 Hello everyone, I'm Dustin Benzel, and welcome to a special Pokemon XY anime discussion. This completely has to take precedence because this is brand new information that I was really not expecting. And so we got to discuss the potential possibility that Clemont is getting a Quilladin, that Pokemon that you know what I'm talking about. Chespin's evolved form. So anyway, we got an anime image because the Pikachu in it has Ash's hat in it, Ash's XY hat. So there is a strong relation between this image and as well as the anime. And what we have here is, of course, we have Frogadier, Quilladin, Qwilfish, and Braixen, and of course we've got Pikachu as well with Ash's Pikachu on it. We also have them in a little plushie, or no, not plushie. What are those? Figures or something, and you know they have all that and stuff, and yeah, so it's basically like it is the anime because, well, not only that, it says copyright Nintendo Creatures, Game Freak, TV Tokyo, Show Pro, J-Card, copyright Pokemon. So if that little copyright at the bottom of the picture is accurate, this is definitely from TV Tokyo, so this is definitely anime possibility, and this apparently is for the fall or something of that nature. So then we go on to this other picture that really doesn't have anything, but it has like it has necklaces of Pikachu, Chespin, Fennekin, Froakie, Eevee, Dedenne, and Pancham, which really doesn't mean anything. Okay, and then we got this one final picture that I want to show you, and it's got what we have here is we have Bulbasaur, Squirtle, Charmander, and Pikachu sleeping, and the thing is, they're sleeping, like Bulbasaur's apparently dreaming of Pikachu, Squirtle is apparently dreaming of Bulbasaur, I'm guessing. Pikachu is dreaming of Charmander, and some non-existent Pokemon is thinking of Squirtle, and Charmander is thinking of a mysterious Pokemon. Could this be Blobby? The Pokemon, the green thingy or whatever? Could this be it? Could it be the Titan, or could it be Zygarde's alternative form? Or maybe, could it be Volcanion? Well, looking at these images of these particular Pokemon, Blobby makes the most sense because it's small and cute, so it wouldn't make any sense for Zygarde's alternate form to be sleeping and dreaming of Squirtle or whatever, and then have or even a Volcanion sleeping there. So it could indeed be Blobby. Or it could be something completely different. We have no idea what this is. Anyway, back to the discussion of Chespin's evolution. Now, a lot of people are going to probably look at Chespin's evolution, Quilladin, and they're going to be like, no, that doesn't make any sense. Why would Clemont get that? I mean, after all, Chespin is exactly like Oshawott and Piplup for the most part. However, I think I should point out that even though they probably do want a marketable, cute Pokemon on the team, I realize that may not actually work for someone like Clemont. Clemont, in terms of the anime, probably technically, and I hate saying this, but it's probably true, Clemont doesn't matter at all. There may be kids that enjoy Dedenne technically, even though they probably like Dedenne with Bonnie more than Clemont, since Clemont doesn't even interact with Dedenne at all, really. And then there's Chespin, then there's Bunnelby, and then Luxray. And so it seems that, well, of course, there might be kids that like it, but clearly they're not going to entirely be as much into Clemont as, say, Ash and Serena, which, if you go back to Piplup and Oshawott, the reason why they didn't evolve in terms of marketability was probably because they were important characters. Therefore, their particular Pokemon were very important. Dawn's Piplup and Ash's Oshawott were important characters of themselves, so that's probably why they evolved. Clemont's Chespin isn't nearly as, I guess, interesting. I guess would technically not be as interesting because Clemont has it, as opposed to Serena's Breaksin and Ash's Frogadier. So that might be why they are in. That's probably why they're okay with evolving Chespin, especially when you consider Bunnelby is likely going to have an episode really coming up soon where it actually might refuse to evolve and wants to be itself. Where would that leave Clemont's team if we had two Pokemon that didn't evolve on his team, and the only Pokemon that did evolve is likely Clemont's last ever Pokemon, and that's Luxio evolving into Luxray just for the sole purpose of the gym battle. So, yes, maybe they're evolving Chespin because, well, they wouldn't have any reason not to. If we go back to the 3rd generation, which is what 6th generation is most like in similarities, because we have a 4 people on the same team. Doubling Generation 3 equals Generation 6, technically. So the number range is similar enough. And then we have the fact that two of the group members are siblings. You know, a little bit different though here because the gym leader has the sibling while the main character doesn't. So there are a lot of differences. I'm not saying it's a carbon copy of 3rd generation. No, I'm not saying that. But there are some similarities. But the point is, in 3rd generation, even if it took until Battle Frontier, all of the group's starter Pokemon evolved at least once. Ash's Trico evolved, May's Torchic evolved, Brock's Mudkip evolved. So it's possible, because this is like Generation 3, they're doing a repeat. Since they already evolved Fennekin and Froakie, they may go ahead and just evolve Chespin, because Chespin evolving doesn't really matter. The difference here, though, is Brock's Mudkip was hardly ever used except occasionally and only appeared in certain scenes. So it's like, why didn't Brock's Mudkip evolve during the series? I guess maybe because of Ludicolo. Maybe Lotad fully evolving into Ludicolo was why Mudkip never evolved. Who knows? Or why Mudkip never evolved during the main Hoenn region and only evolved into Kanto for the Battle Frontier. So this is at least different because Clemont's Chespin is basically evolving afterwards. Now, speaking of which, this is interesting because in the order of the appearance and captures, it seems the starter Pokemon are evolving in order. Ash's Froakie first showed up in the anime, and Ash ended up catching it. It was also the first evolution. Then Serena got her Fennekin and joined Ash's team, and then it evolved second, just like in the anime. And then it wasn't until they returned to Lumio City with Serena that Clemont got Chespin, and therefore Clemont's Chespin would be hypothetically evolving into Quilladin, Qwilfish. You know that Pokemon. Well, no, not that Pokemon, but you know what I'm talking about. So the question is, when will Clemont's Chespin evolve? Well, I have an interesting theory, and it's probably not going to happen because we probably would have been revealed about this in some fashion or another. But what if the very next episode, the Chespin Bunnelby episode, What if that is Chespin's evolution episode? Now, if somebody would actually like to correct me and there's confirmation that Chespin is in some other episode, like the Talonflame episode or something after this coming week episode. Alright, doing a little test of the images that I've saved of the upcoming episodes in terms of like scans or whatever. It doesn't seem like Chespin is confirmed to be in an episode after this coming week of Chespin and Bunnelby in their first thing. So it seems like it might be entirely possible that Clemont's Chespin will indeed evolve in next week's episode. Or, yeah, next week's episode, because there's a break this coming Thursday, which is like in a couple of days from the point of this recording. So maybe Chespin will evolve into Quilladin a lot sooner than we think. I mean, there's still a possibility that there was some evidence of Chespin being in an alternative episode that I didn't see or neglected to notice, and no one seemed to have corrected me in that post or comment that I made in KG Prestige's video in this regards to this particular subject. So who knows? Maybe Chespin will evolve really, really soon. I mean, after all, you can't exactly say, well, Chespin is in the ending or in the opening when Fletchinder is in the opening and ending, and yet if Eevee, who's in the opening and ending, is happening after Talonflame, and Talonflame isn't in the opening or ending, then the same thing can apply to Chespin evolving. However, it may not be that simple. I mean, it would. See, the problem is, and one of the things that I am worried about, is that if this actually is what is going to happen, and that Chespin, or Quilladin, and Frogadier and Braixen are going to be on the same team together at some particular point, and Chespin isn't going to evolve until after the Olympia Gym, then that means that Frogadier will not evolve until after Chespin evolves. Which is probably going to be the case anyway, but it just means that Frogadier will not evolve against Olympia's Meowstic in the Anastar Gym. So that little bothers me, but if it doesn't evolve in this next week episode, which it actually might, because the episode seems to be focused around Chespin, it almost seems like they would evolve Chespin into Quilladin at this particular moment, just to surprise people, because we have absolutely no information on this. We got the normal preview, and that was in the rain, and we saw the Fearow stealing the coin purse. Speaking of which, I was wrong in one particular aspect of speculation. Apparently, that coin purse that Chespin is holding actually belongs to somebody else. I thought Clemont gave Chespin the coin purse so they can purchase the items that Clemont needed, but in reality, apparently by the summary, which I'm not so sure about because we've had false summaries before, slightly skewed summary facts, it might also be possible that it could indeed just be Clemont's coin purse and the summary was wrong. Or maybe it is some random person's coin purse and they have to figure out where it goes. So, yeah, this is pretty interesting that we might potentially get to see Chespin evolving. Now, one of the problems is, well, maybe Chespin is just too personality-wise to evolve into its next evolution. Maybe Chespin, what about all the quirky and fun moments with Chespin? Well, looking at Quilladin right now, I can easily say that there's probably not going to be any major differences between it and Chespin. There might be some slight different personalities, but I feel like this particular Pokemon is probably going to have the same personality as Chespin, and it seems like it could. After all, Dewott looks so much like Oshawott. I always felt that Ash's hypothetical Dewott would just be like a more mature version of Ash's Oshawott. It would still be childish and do crazy things, but it would be a little bit more mature, and I never understood why they didn't evolve it, at least into Dewott. Ignoring the very first time we saw Duat and Servine in the anime, just so the producers can shove it in our face of Oshawott being afraid of Duat and having Pikachu battle in its place. But then again, Oshawott did beat a Duat in the Declore Islands arc, so yeah, whatever. So yeah, it all depends. But you know, I still feel like it would have the same personality. But if we assume that this is not Clemont's and Clemont's Chespin does not evolve, because that's always a possibility because there's no confirmation that this is precisely Clemont's Quilladin, they could have easily done this just because they wanted to have the middle starters. Because in another photo, we have Fennekin, Froakie, and Chespin, and it would be weird to have the middle starters and not have Quilladin in this particular format, because it'd be weird to have Chespin being a necklace and then have Chespin also be a little figure along with the other Pokemon, such as Braixen, Frogadier, and Pikachu with Ash's hat on it. So it's entirely possible this doesn't absolutely mean anything. However, as I've said before in other speculations, in regards to one particular character, there is another character that does have Chespin. And based on the fact that this is happening in like fall, there's also another thing that's happening in fall, and of course that's Mega Evolution Act 4. And it's entirely possible that this particular Quilladin is actually Marin's Chespin evolved. Because I always said, if not Clemont's Chespin, then obviously Marin's Chespin that evolves into its middle stage. And therefore, that's how we would see Chespin's middle stage in the main anime when Alon and Marin meet up with Ash in the main series. Because I've always wondered why Quilladin did not appear in the anime. I've always wondered why Frogadier and Braixen always appeared before Froakie and Fennekin evolved, but Chespin's line was always the weird one out. And that might just be because of popularity, because as I've said before, while I do like the Chespin line more than a lot of starters, it's my technical least favorite, so maybe they just didn't care as much. But they didn't even get it out of the way. They didn't even just throw a random episode revolving around this particular Pokemon. I mean, we had Chespin battling a Delphox, for crying out loud. And then Froakie battling Frogadier, you know, so... And then, of course, we had Fennekin battling a Delphox, evolving it into Braixen versus Delphox, so... It very well might be, this could either be Clemont's or Marin's particular Pokemon. It all depends on the circumstances of what's going to actually happen. But, assume next week, if Clemont's Chespin does not evolve in that episode, then I have a feeling that Clemont's Chespin, if this is Clemont's Chespin, will not evolve until after the Anastar Gym. And if that's true, and this image implies that the three are going to appear on the same screen at some point, or they have the potential chance due to the timeline, then that also unfortunately means that Frogadier will not be evolving in the Anastar Gym, like I thought it would have. Granted, we still don't know when the Anastar Gym is, and I was trying to say my previous video of speculation and predictions, it's entirely possible that Serena's showcase will happen before Olympia, and there might be even a couple of extra episodes in between the showcase and the gym where potentially Chespin could evolve, and then Frogadier could then further evolve into Greninja in the gym battle. But it's all speculation and all depends on the circumstances. Right now, if this is Clemont's Chespin, I'm expecting an evolution next week, because as far as I'm aware, we do not see Chespin at all in the other upcoming episodes. We don't see it in the Diggersby episode. We don't see it in the Eevee episode. We don't of the showcase. We have all these episodes that we know about after next week's episode, but we don't have Chespin. We have Bunnelby, of course, and we have like Breaksin and Pancham and Ash's Pokemon, Fletchinder evolving into Talonflame in the Moltres episode, Frogadier being used in the Anastar Gym. So we're pretty much aware of all the other Pokemon except like Noibat basically, and Luxray. So, but not Chespin. So perhaps Chespin will evolve next week, and it's going to be an absolute surprise. Or maybe in the Get TV this coming Sunday when they do a preview for the next week, because they didn't do it I'm pretty sure they didn't do one this last week because the Pokemon was going to have a episode this week, so I don't know why they would have put a Get TV preview. So, and I think they've done that before. I think the Sunday Pokemon special that airs on TV Tokyo in the morning, I think they've only ever done previews for whatever's coming the following week. So like the next Thursday, whatever happens there. But since Naruto is this Thursday, 2 episodes of Naruto, then that means that, of course, Get TV wasn't going to have a preview. So I think this pretty much covers everything. I talked a little bit about that mysterious Pokemon. Not like I said, it's between 3 possibilities. It could be Blobby, Volcanion, or 4 possibilities. Zygarde's possible alternative form, or even a brand new Pokemon otherwise. Speaking of which, of that particular shot, the bubbles, or the dream bubbles, seem to have certain colors. Pikachu is rounded by yellow coloring, Bulbasaur a green, Charmander an orange, Squirtle and a blue, and that seems to imply that those particular Pokemon are wrapped around their type representatives of what they are. Now, I think fire is like technically red in the games. I think fire is represented by red, but if it's orange, but it could also be colors. It could also be the color of the Pokemon, because Charmander is actually orange. If fire is represented by red in the games, then of course the orange would represent by the color of Charmander. So I guess it really depends. Let me actually look at that. Let me see what color fire type is, what the color of the fire type is. I feel like it's orange. Yeah, it's orange. So what this means, based on the typings, it seems this particular Pokemon, this brand new Pokemon, might indeed be a poison type. Granted, that could be Bulbasaur's typing, but looking at this, yeah, Psychic is pink, or a dark pink. Fairy is a very bright pink. Poison is the only purple color that we have. Flying is kind of like a bluish purple, but not the same kind of purple. Poison would fit more. Ghost is like a very dark purple, so it wouldn't fit. But the color that it matches the most is poison. So maybe Blobby's a poison type, and that honestly would make some sense. It could be like Grimer and Muck, so maybe Blobby is just this new poison type Pokemon. Especially since Skrelp and Dragalge, finally I say that Pokemon properly. I've always known it was pronounced like algae, so it'd be Dragalge, but for some reason, every time I tried to pronounce it, it was always Dragalge. And I didn't know why. I don't know why I always felt of that. I guess it was too easy, but I always knew it was Dragalge. And the dub even agrees with me. I always knew it was Dragalge before the dub. And even though I've disagreed with the dub on a lot of things, this one is what I always thought it was pronounced. So yeah. So it potentially Blobby, if it is Blobby, then maybe Blobby is a poison type. If it is a poison type, then potentially that also means that maybe it's not related to Zygarde. A lot of people are like, well, what's the similarities between Zygarde and this Blobby Pokemon? Well, the thing is, in my opinion, the blob's facial area is very similar to Zygarde. They kind of have that same pointed head sort of thing. Granted, Zygarde's is more of a flatter version, but then again, evolution and similarities potentially would allow that. So it's like they kind of have the same kind of head. Kind of like, well, Zygarde has this like wasp kind of head, or snakish, like, you know what you can look at it and see what I mean. And then we have this blob Pokemon, and it has the same head almost. Yeah, it kind of has similar head. So, but if this blob creature is going to be poison types, then that might mean that it's more related to the actual games, and maybe Blobby is actually some sort of Pokemon that exists, and it's causing damage to the ecosystem, and we know Zygarde actually watches the ecosystem to make sure everything is balanced. So basically, if Zygarde actually existed, it'd probably kill everyone alive because of all the pollution that we've done in our world. So yeah, Zygarde is basically Captain Planet, basically. Earth, water, you know what I mean. So yeah, so this blob creature might actually be detrimental to the ecosystem, thus resulting in Zygarde going there. But then again, if this is a brand new Pokemon and it's poison type, maybe this particular blob Pokemon works with Zygarde to absorb the pollution to the ecosystem, because it is a poison type, and poison types absorb poison. I don't know. I'm pretty sure poison attacks work on poison type Pokemon, and poison types aren't immune to poison types, but poison types are immune to being poisoned. So if a poison Pokemon lands on poison dart or toxic spikes, they will actually absorb it, and therefore there will no longer be any Pokemon that are poisoned or whatever. So that might actually be the purpose of this blob Pokemon, even though it might be a poison type and it relates to Zygarde. Maybe it works to purify the ecosystem. So I guess that pretty much covers everything to discuss. Yep, I'll need another day or two to record that the storyline episode, Pokemon discussions, or whatever. So anyway, that covers this. So yeah, I will see you in a moment, or whatever. Thank you for watching. I'm Dustin Benzel, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye. Qwilfish.